Hello and welcome. Welcome to Legendary Leaders Podcast. I am your host, Coach Vet Jet, and I am so excited. I have a very special guest today. Her name is Shane Woods, and she's just amazing. We've been talking off stage, and I know that you're in for a treat. So, we're going to talk about leadership, education, and everything about Shane. And I know that you'll benefit from the conversation. So, Shane, welcome to the stage. Welcome to Legendary Leaders Podcast. Tell everyone about yourself.
Oh, first, thank you for number one, calling me a legendary leader. I now I'm going to add that to my wonderful lexicon of who I am and how I show up in this world. But as you have stated, I'm Shane Woods. I get the honor and privilege of serving as executive director for Girl Start. Don't worry, I'll tell you what that is. But how I got to this position is quite an interesting story. In terms of, I've been serving on this earth as the oldest sister to two other amazing women. That leadership, if you're a firstborn, you know what that means, especially those of us that were born in the 70s. We were just that mini adult parent that happened to be in the same house with two other siblings that had other roles to play. Born in Houston with these two girls that I love dearly, Kim and Corey. We are a trio of trouble and triumph, and so we are all so unique in our own way. But from a long, from way back when, I can say that I've always had a long love of just curiosity. I was the kid
Mm,
that was, in the creeks. I was the kid
wow.
trying to figure out, what does this mean? Reading books.
Mm.
A show that really stood out to me, and this is definitely dating myself, even though I already said I was born in the 70s. It was Mr. Wizard. Watching Mr.
What?
Wizard do science with kids who looked like me, kids who looked like the kids in my neighborhood, growing up in Houston, very diverse, neighborhood. But he was doing science with things in his house or in his garage. And it was answering the questions that I had about just who we are. I loved watching the excursions of Jacques Cousteau on PBS, like
Mm,
just the exploration and all of that really sounded off to me.
mm.
It resonated with me, if you will. And so something else that yet again, it's a story that I shared in a book I got to co-author. I said what I
What?
said for Black women in leadership, nonprofit leadership, because I tell
Wow.
a story with a grain of salt from my mother, because all stories from your mama can be exaggerated and maybe a fable, but there's something to learn from it. And so she said
Yes.
when I was young, young like two and under, that I took apart a clock and I put it back
Okay.
together, or
Wow.
some small device. And she was like, the fact that you already had that prowess when you were that young,
Mm.
curious, and to put it back, and then you moved on. And so, like I said,
Wow.
that passion of loving math and science has always carried me through K-12. And so it's one of those
Wow.
things that
Okay.
I've had the opportunity to have some really good teachers. But
Okay.
I ran into
Yeah.
one that wasn't as strong as the others in sixth grade.
Really.
In
Mm.
terms of, I realized that I wanted to be able to do what I saw the gifted and talented students doing in their math and science class. And so I was just asking the
Okay.
teacher, when are we going to do that? And to make a huge story short, she was like, y'all, what we do in this class ain't what they do, because the kids in here can't do that. And so
What?
all I needed to hear was that.
No.
I championed
Shane,
myself.
no.
Oh no. And she, I
No.
mean, and
We
that's
say that. Oh
that,
no.
that's
Oh
what she said
no.
out loud. And I
Not in our head.
understood what, like, yeah,
Okay.
I understood that she was saying she was putting limitations on me. And so that's something that
Mm.
stuck in my mind, but I used it to
Okay.
fuel myself into what I could do better. And so
Nice.
I was
Okay.
able to change my course selection for seventh and eighth grade into all honors. But before I
Yes.
left that school, I made sure that I won the invention convention. So that way
You
she
better
knew that she
do
couldn't
it.
put those limits on me. You,
Don't
you
put
don't
them.
get to do that.
You.
It's one of
Oh
those things that
yes.
you don't get to tell me who I am. I get to tell you who I am. And
Ooh,
so it's
Shane,
one
you
of
better speak that. Oh my God. Say that
so,
again. Say
yes, but
it.
yeah, I'm sure Cat Williams said it even better, but it is. It's like you don't get to label me in my experiences. You don't get to put that on
Yes.
me.
Oh
Um,
my God. You
and
trying to
so
blow up the Legendary Leaders podcast. You trying to make us go viral. I like that.
if only we could, and we
Oh my
will when we
God.
do
We
that.
will. Yes.
But it
Oh my
is so
God.
that stuck with me, and always
Okay.
being able to. And then once I got into those classes and excelled there, I knew
Yes.
that was, that
Very.
own self-satisfaction, that self-belief of
Yes.
helping me understand, like, when I put my mind to it, and
Yes.
and it definitely was harder work. I'm not saying it just came
Okay.
easy, but it let me know that when I put my mind to it, I can do the brilliant things. Like, I'm
I
okay
like
with, there
that.
are people who can just read something and go with it. I'm okay that it takes me a little longer. I was also one of
Mm-hmm.
those kids who understood, like, just because someone got up and turned their paper in first, I still have the
That is
rest of the
it.
time to make it perfect, to make
That
my
you can make.
perfection.
Yes, and that's so powerful, Shane, that
Mhm.
you said that because a lot of children don't speak into their brilliance and don't understand their brilliance. And that's why I'm so passionate, right? As an educational leadership coach, that we say the right things to our young scholars, to our older scholars, right? To anyone that we have the power and control over because the voice is there, right? And the voice matters. And what are we using that voice for? And it's funny you said, because I told my son, I told him when I dropped him off, I said, mommy loves you. I said, but I know you know that, but I need you to know that you can do anything. You can have anything. You can be anything. So be your best, son. And because you never know what someone else is speaking to
Mhm.
the young scholars, and it's powerful that you were able to change that around because a lot of young scholars aren't right because
Yeah.
they hear that spoken over them from a person in power, from a person in
Yes.
power. So then, and obviously, right, you went into education. So, what was your focus or what was your vision educating the young scholars and even going into leadership?
After I graduated from Xavier University of Louisiana in New Orleans,
Nice.
while there, I saw what Black excellence was. It was
Okay.
about making sure, to speaking to what you said, finding that best you and showing up in that,
Yes.
and also getting a chance to do some volunteer work while I was in undergrad. One of them was
Okay.
tutoring. And so that yet
Wow.
again connected me to that passion of me being able to share my excitement for science and math with the younger generations. And it
Okay.
really resonated with me. And I wanted to figure out, what does that look like? And I did go to
Mm,
medical school for a couple of years and realized, no, that's not
really?
for me. I
Okay.
then
That's fair.
transitioned into teaching science for seventh and eighth
Really?
grade students in Fort Worth ISD. Um, and
Wow.
it was just one of the best experiences I've ever had. I get a chance to
Mm,
still stay connected to some of my students from that
okay.
time. I only was in the classroom for 5 years, but during those 5 years, I learned so much from the kids, and also
Wow.
I shared with them, and I grew in how education. I grew in my own education of education. I
Nice.
realized
Okay.
that it's based upon, just kind of sit and get. And I didn't like that. And I'm so glad that now
Okay.
there's a big paradigm shift on, like, student
Mhm.
centered, allowing the kids to
Yeah.
have discovery, real world connections. But in the
Exactly.
2000s, when I was teaching, that was still new. That was still
Okay.
something that people weren't as comfortable with, of releasing the power to the kids and me just acting as a
Yeah.
facilitator. Because I went to medical school
Ooh.
because I always wanted to be a teaching doctor.
Okay.
And so
Nice.
I realized there was a cheaper way to be a teaching person, and that's being a
Yeah.
teacher.
Being a
Definitely
teacher.
difference in
Wow.
pay, but it's one of those things that I have always loved it. And something that I realized is I taught in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. And so I
Okay.
didn't realize that my students stopped education sometimes for the girls after their quinceanera or after eighth grade, because at that point, it's time for them to
Mm.
start shifting culturally for some of them to looking at how to be the best homemaker, to shifting to
Really?
family and that kind of contribution.
Wow.
And so I remember telling my girls, they're telling me this. I was like, so what are you taking next year? What are you going to do? You're so
Mm.
smart. This is what you've done. I'm so proud of how, you've grown in the 2 years I've had some of them. And they were like, Miss,
Yeah.
that's not what we do. Like, this is what we're. I was like, no, no, that brain of yours, brilliant. I
Yeah.
said, you can make an
Brilliance.
impact
Brilliance.
on your family using your brain and having them open their eyes and having those discussions with their family. And this is not something that
Mm.
just happened one year, but having that awakening during science nights and parent conferences and all of that, to
Yeah.
say, she is going to do so many things.
So
She is
many
so
things.
capable.
Wow.
And she is not turning her back on her culture and her family if she goes out of
Mm.
state, if she goes away to get this education, because the way she is,
Yeah.
I know she's coming back, or she's going to give back. And so now I get a chance
Wow.
to say that I have doctors of physical therapy as former middle school students, that I have
Really?
former,
Wow.
current teachers, I have engineers, all of that, because
Wow.
my students realize that they are much more
Much
than what
more.
society, and
Mhm.
sometimes you said it, the people in your house speak over you. That is not
Exactly.
for you. That is not a woman's place. That is not, and so
Wow.
it's giving them that
Ah.
inner resilience and cheerleader to say, I can do these things. I
You
know I
can do.
can do this. Or I
Oh,
can reach out to
wow.
the people within my immediate network to make sure I can do these things.
That
Um,
is so awesome. You know what, Shane, I like what you said because so many times we still have to break those glass ceilings as women, as minorities, right? And it's up to us to give back to the community and give back to young scholars and just to people and women in general to know that you can do it. You can break the glass ceiling, right? And what you want to achieve, you can. And so it's I love the fact that you instill that in the scholar and in their families, right? Like they're gonna come back, they're gonna give back. Don't you worry. Like
yes.
it's coming right back to the community. So then you shift it, right? You shift it into leadership. And I see you do other things. So take us through that journey of when you shifted out the classroom and now more into a different direction of leading, still working with, scholars and children. Tell us about that journey.
Happily, it's one of those things that every single promotion or major life change I've had, at least on my resume, has always been
Mhm.
someone calling out what they see in me and already telling me, this is why I know this is for you. So I had, I was a second year teacher, and the principal at that time came in and was like, "You're going to be the department head." I was like, "I've been teaching all of 1 year successfully, surviving 1 year, as we all know, our first year of teaching, and you already want me to lead this multi-generational department, and I'm the youngest and the newest." And I did it, and I did it well, and I had a respect of that team. And so that's when I started seeing what my leadership style is, what my way of leading and emotional intelligence allows me to navigate the environment that I'm serving in a way that's
Wow.
best suited for the kids. I got a chance to
Wow.
become I forget what they call it. Oh, a lead teacher at the time, lead
Okay.
content
Okay.
teacher. And so, yet
Wow.
again, that's a lot of us in a network finding best practices, bringing it back to our campus, teaching it
Okay.
out, giving feedback. Really that continuous improvement model, if you will. Then I
Yes.
got a chance to move up to the high school and become a testing coordinator, as well
Okay.
as their dean of instruction, and really looking at
Mm.
um, how we can shift how the school day looks in a way that does best fit what the kids that we're serving need. And then
Okay.
yet again, I get a call from the principal that was at that high school, who had gotten moved up to central admin, saying, "There's this position coming up that we think you can do as middle school science content specialist. You would be writing the curriculum, writing the assessments, helping those who are more vintage in their craft, those who onboarding those who are new, and really talking to the principals about what they needed to do in order to have the best environment for learning in science." So I did that
Wow.
for a few years. And then the chief academic officer was like, "So I think you're ready to go ahead and be the interim K-12 science director." And then I became
What?
the K-12 science director. So yet again,
Nice.
every time
Okay. What a
someone got a
blessing.
chance to kind of tap me on the shoulder, like, we think you're ready for this." And it's not that I
Wow.
didn't see myself ready for
Okay.
it. There wasn't
Mhm.
that imposter syndrome didn't creep in. It was one of those moments of being able to have someone highlighted. And so it's so nice to be recognized especially in a
Yeah.
career that doesn't get the recognition we always want and deserve.
Wow.
So then I
Okay.
led the K-12 science department for over 7 to 8, yeah, that's 7, 8 years at Fort Worth
What?
ISD, and loved it. So
Nice.
to be able to oversee the curriculum of over 80,000 students at the time, to be able
Whoa.
to reinforce what's important for teacher professional learning, to be able to
Okay.
craft curriculum modules, to be able to have input
Mm.
on new science buildings. I
Wow.
even had a chance to testify in front of the state board several times, just about what does it mean for us to truly remove the politics of everything, especially in the
Yeah.
state of Texas, and
Oh,
truly
yes,
focus on
ma'am.
kids, focus on science
Focus.
time, especially in
Wow.
elementary. Because if we deny those students science time in K-5, we've put the burden on 7th through 12th grade. And then by that time,
Wow.
that burden gets put on those who are in college or on their employees if they go straight into industry. And we never
Yeah,
want to say that a kid that came out of a Texas public school is not
exactly.
prepared. And
Not prepared.
unfortunately, we
Oh,
can't, we are fighting that odds right now, especially with the shutdown of the world that happened for
yeah.
2 years. But then from there, I got yet again a colleague who
Wow.
was very aware of an opening at Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, and she was
I
like, "I
saw
sit
that.
on
Okay.
this council. I think this is for you." And at first, I was like,
Really?
"Running a camp? Didn't don't see it." It was one of the best
Mm,
career moves I made, going from K-12
really?
education to informal education, and serving
Okay.
as the director for the STEM Center of Excellence, which was a 90-acre camp of all possibilities.
Are you
We focused
serious,
on
Shane?
STEM, and we allowed those experiences to extend beyond just Girl Scouts coming from, their
Wow.
troops and their experiences. We also opened up the camp to field trips. And it's still thriving. Those of y'all in the North Texas area, please schedule
Really?
time for field trips, because it really is about getting those kids to see what they're learning in those books, to be
Okay.
able to see it come
Yeah.
to life. And it's more than just a camp. It allows experiences in engineering, robotics, even
Okay.
farming and in agriculture, all
Wow.
of those connected things that it really broadens their understanding of what science, technology, engineering, and math careers can be.
Oh my
But also
God,
lets them know
Shane.
that there's a way to appreciate the environment and the
Okay.
world around us, and know that trees are good for us, that
Trees are
walking
exactly.
and breathing and having
Yes,
that community
yes.
of people outside is necessary.
Oh,
But
wow.
from that, then yet again, someone tapped me on the shoulder, and I had spoken to Girl Start about the DEI work Girl Scouts was doing at the time, and they wanted to know what our learnings were in taking that
Okay.
deep dive as a girl serving organization to
Okay.
really have that internal
Mm,
dialogue of like, are we truly as diverse, equity, and inclusive as we think we are? And many times the
okay.
answer was no. And so I spoke
Mm,
to Girl Start about that, and they really enjoyed my message. And so a week
nice.
later, I was reached out, and they were like, "So we have a spot open as an executive director. Um, we would love to have you apply and interview." And I was like, "What's the
Really?
harm? The harm? I love my job here.
What?
Let me see what that looks like." And so, as the title change says, I apparently took it and have
You took
enjoyed
it.
being the executive
Really?
director for a national nonprofit that serves girls coast to coast through really
Wow.
empowering them in a career-based curriculum starting in fourth and fifth grades. We are not only in Texas, we're also in Boston, Massachusetts, and the Bay Area of California. And we do it in a multi pronged approach. We do after school
Okay.
club for those kids, we do summer camp experiences, year-long
Really?
experiences as well, some that involve the family and some that are girl facing only. From our Girl
Oh,
in STEM
wow.
conference that we have here, that allows fourth through eighth grade girls to come in and hear from industry experts. They get to rotate and learn all kind of different career
Really?
experiences. One of the highlights last year is we had an all-female land surveyor team talk to kids about
What?
tectonics and looking at topographic maps. And that's something that
That
as
is
a
beautiful.
seventh grade teacher, I taught that. But
Really?
them actually apply it and use it every day, several kids were like,
That
"Oh,
practical
I
application.
used all this, but
Yes.
we didn't know you actually used it." So it lets them see that famous
Wow.
question that I used to get as a teacher is, "Miss, when am I going to use this? What does this have to do with me?" And I'm like, so it was one of those
Really?
connections that I was able to see come to life for those kiddos. So just being able to walk in my purpose of I've always loved science and math, and now I get to
Yeah.
lead an organization that helps those who are curious about it, those who didn't know that STEM was a possibility for them, to hopefully
Mm.
garner that interest early in elementary, so that way it carries them through those advanced maths and science courses that gets them to a certification and or terminal degree that allows them to make the biggest impact. So it really has
Wow.
been something that started from a kid who may or may not have taken apart a small device that her mama said, all the way now to me getting a chance to leave a legacy of girls. Some of us were still breaking glass ceilings, but hopefully in a few generations, it'll be the norm to see women in C suites of these technology corporations. It'll be the norm of women owning their own, mechanic shop. It'll be the norm for women of color to be able to, be in the room of other male, female engineers doing the best that they can for, getting us to Mars. So it really is something that it's a passion of mine, and I love walking in it. And I also get a chance to be
Ooh,
a coach now for those who are still trying to
really?
navigate their way through nonprofit leadership, as well as those that are in education that are
Okay.
trying to make that next step. Like,
I
I've been a
love
teacher
that.
for a while, or I've done
Mhm.
this for a while. What does it look like for me to change and make a different kind of impact? So
Ooh, Shane, I love that. So,
I love
so
it.
how do you coach them? What do you do? Because what I keep hearing you saying, right, the thread that keeps running through everything that you're saying, someone tapped you, and they kept tapping you, and they're probably not going to stop tapping you. so, so how do you get the tap on the shoulder, Shane? Because Shane, I'm sorry, because a lot of people don't get to have
Mhm.
that tap. They have to work for it and strive for it and find it. How do you get that tap on the shoulder like you've gotten?
I think it's a couple of ways. It also depends on the environment you're in. I happen to
Okay.
have amazing people who've seen the best in me every way. And I am not afraid to say
Mm,
it. Every single opportunity I got came from either a white woman or a white man. Somehow they saw me,
really?
and I was
What a
able to be
blessing.
tapped into. So it's one of those things of like, when you are
Wow.
are truly operating in your gift, I think it just shows
Okay.
through. But if you're in a
Mm,
more divisive kind of environment, it's taking those opportunities. So if your
okay.
district or the environment around you says we need volunteers for this, volunteer if your time allows. So like me taking on being a department chair wasn't a burden to me. Me volunteering to be on the curriculum writing team for the district allowed people to see me. Me being able to speak and run for office for other small organizations that are about STEM or science leadership, I did that. And that's how my name became my brand. It really is about you looking at how are you doing your own branding. Now, I'm not saying you
Okay.
got to go full
Mm.
head of steam into hustle culture, but you got to be
Okay.
in the right room or be adjacent to the
Okay.
people who are making those decisions. And it's
Ooh,
not
okay.
even a game playing. I know a lot of people are like, I don't like playing the game. Everything I did, I voluntarily did, in terms of I
Okay.
volunteered to write curriculum. I volunteered to do this. Some of them
Okay.
actually had pay with it, but I'm saying I still volunteered my time to take these
Okay.
on and to make sure that everything that I did
Mm.
spoke for itself if I wasn't in the room. So if someone did that, they
Ooh.
were able to. It's critical at that time. I didn't know what I was, I didn't know who these people were, had a
Okay.
label, but I realized that all of these people were my sponsors. They were the ones
Girl,
saying my
yes.
name in the room, saying, bringing my name
Mm.
forward to be a candidate,
Okay.
and saying, I'm putting my name with your name to get you through this door. So use my pass to get you on. Now, what you do with it is
Yes.
on you, and not guaranteeing it to you. I'm just saying, I'm putting my pass with your name and you
I
can go
like
forward.
that.
And so I think it's
Wow.
being able, now that I'm in my 47th year, showing up so that way I can do that. So that way, like you said, it's not
Mm.
people being overlooked. And it's helping other
Okay.
people realize it doesn't have to be that dog eat dog world. We could have a whole nother
Yes.
conversation about the harm that Black women have done to one another. My only
Ooh,
demotion came from a Black woman.
are
My
you
only time that
serious?
I was not praised for what I was doing, and at that time I was doing some phenomenal things, a Black woman
Mm,
removed me from that position and put me somewhere else. But that
really?
position got me ready to take on that next step. But it's one of those
Mm,
things of like, how do we show up either as a peer, a confidant, a
okay.
coach, a sponsor, or even a mentor?
Yeah,
And it also
I
depends
love
on the
it.
time you can do. It depends on how you can
Mm,
invest in this person. And if sometimes it's saying no to the wrong person, it's not always a match, but it's one
okay,
of those
yeah.
things that
Mm,
being able to take advantage of what's available to you, make
I
sure
like
that you
that.
know the
Okay.
name, and also learn what does it mean to do that, and ask those questions. How do I get to
Mm,
that job? I see that
I
you're a
like
chief
it.
academic officer. I would love to just take you out for coffee, or if we have 30 minutes for a Zoom, I just want to know your story and find the things that are
Mm,
that help you get to something that's similar. But also ask the hard
ooh.
questions. Do you like your job? Do
Do
you
you
have
like
children? Did
Yes,
does
okay.
do you have time for hobbies and all of that? Can you
Yeah, that makes a difference.
girl?
Yeah.
'Cause this next generation, Gen Z, is on it. They are
They
not about.
Mm-mm.
low vibration jobs. They are all
No.
about I need to feel worthy of working here, and you need to be worthy
Yes.
of me. And so I think that's
Exactly.
really what it is. It's like when you're ready for that change and you feel that growth spirit, what
That
are you
grow.
doing with that?
Ooh.
Are you enabling
Ah.
yourself to be ready? But something that
Okay.
I read the other day really stuck with me, and that is,
Uh-huh.
as you are waiting on your next step, are you preparing yourself once it comes? And
I
so I
like
think that's
that.
very
Shane, I
important on
like
those
that.
who need to read leadership books, those who need to watch
Mm.
YouTube, those who need to go to conferences. All of that professional learning really does prepare you for that next stage. And if you're not doing it, once you get that job, you're gonna be overwhelmed. And that if that's when
Yeah.
that imposter does show up. And that big old
Okay.
cape comes in talking about you ain't ready for this, you don't know what you're
You
doing.
ain't ready.
You ain't
Yes.
ready. And so it's one
Oh
of those
my
things that
God.
the famous, you know, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get
You have to
ready.
get
And that's
ready.
how it is.
Exactly.
So one of those things
Shane, I was thinking it. You said it. I was thinking it.
you
Oh
gotta
my
stay ready.
goodness. You got to stay ready. So tell us, what do you see Girls Start doing from here? Because obviously it's a phenomenal organization. I know you're doing great things there, right? So where do you see it growing and going from here? What do you see as the executive director?
What I would love to see for Girls Start is for us to have for people to know that we are a first solution to those girls that are in your classrooms that have the potential, or they are so curious, they have
Okay.
all the questions, or they're the quiet one in the back reading the book. That we can be something that she does after school that nurtures that spirit of learning and loving, and,
Wow.
and to be able to know that I am worthy of STEM. I am smart. I am brave.
Mm.
I can be beautiful. I can be all these things at
Wow.
once. And I can be a complex human that loves math and science, and that can turn into a career that yet again removes a lot of the barriers of systemic oppression that has come on women. Like you can own your own home. You can travel. You can buy all
Mm.
the nice things you love while also making a difference in this world. So whether you're being a civil engineer or you're flying the first,
Yes.
vehicle to Mars, that you are making a difference.
Nice.
And you can do it in style, you can do it in grace, you can do it as loud, you can do it with
Ooh.
fingernails, you can do it with them lashes, you can do all
Let's
these
do
things
it.
and still be
Oh,
a
wow.
brilliant one who was giving back.
I
So I would
love
love for
that.
Girl Start to be that first solution for those who are trying to figure out, how do I get these girls who don't need tutoring, they just need
Okay.
enrichment um,
Sh
through
Oh,
after school. Or
Shane.
I get the
Okay.
question I get from parents is, my daughter loves this. What do I do with her? And I'm like, send her to a Girl Start event. Come with her. Let her see you
Really?
learn. So that way she understands, even as an adult, y'all are still learning together, and that you
Love
support her,
it.
that you're standing with her, that you believe in what she believes that she can do. But then also practicing that vocabulary and teaching
Yes.
parents and caregivers the vocabulary of, like, I'm so proud of you, but how do you feel?
How do
Are
you
you proud of
feel?
yourself? What did you learn
Nice.
today? How do you think you will use it? Was this easy? Oh, it wasn't easy. Tell me how it became easy for you. That they
Nice.
understand that it's about themselves being dependable on themselves, to
I
focus on
love that.
the task at hand, to see it all the way through, but to also voice when they're stuck, when it's hard,
Yeah.
say it out loud, but not to internalize it and struggle and stress out. It's like
Okay.
teaching them how to be fearless, how to be
Yeah.
genuine, how to be
Mm.
hardworking, how to be spirited, about what
Yeah.
they are passionate about. And like, if someone says, oh, only nerds like that, nerds run businesses, nerds make money.
Exactly.
So I will be the nerd,
Exactly. I will
but
be the nerd.
it's
Oh,
also
wow.
helping redefine what that means. Be like, I'm sorry, like, I heard that's what you
Mm.
said, but what did you really mean? Is it that you
What
need
did
me to
you
help
really
you do
mean?
your homework? Because there was
Nice.
an easier way to say that. So it's helping them
Nice.
understand,
Use
like,
that
they
voice.
say to themselves should be the nicest
Mm.
person that they're ever to. And if you're
I
nice
love
to
that.
yourself, then you can help others do the same and mimic that. And just how to
Nice.
show up for your sister. But number one, you got to show up for yourself.
I like that. So what's the age group, Shane? What's the age group for Girl Start?
Well, Girl Start After School Club is fourth and fifth grade students, and then
Okay.
we have summer experiences in our Girl in STEM conference that's goes from fourth to eighth grade, and then we have
Okay.
other community events that's K to Gray. Whoever shows
Okay.
up and however they show up in that world can come to a Girl
Ooh,
Start booth or come to one of our extravaganzas, and just
nice.
bring the family and learn and discover the world around each other, add new vocabulary. and just,
Yes.
get your kids, exposed to what's possible in life through
What's
science,
possible?
technology, engineering, and math.
I love that. And I saw on your website that there's volunteer opportunities. So, Shane, we are rounding the corner to our time together. So, tell us, how can we learn one more about Girls Start? How can we get involved and volunteer? I'm a part of a military sorority, and I think this would be a great opportunity for us to volunteer. Alpha Delta Omega Military Sorority Incorporated, and it's of course veteran women of all nationalities. And I think we can do some partnership together and get some volunteers out there for these girls and
Oh,
to
yeah.
show them a different aspect and how they can use science, technology, and math and what it does. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I just saw great things. I just had to put it out there right quick. It just
We
like,
will be
I'm like,
definitely
oh my God.
connecting. We will definitely
Yes.
connect. That's really what Girl Start is about, is making sure that these individuals understand all the possibilities and how it shows up, and that
Mm,
everybody has a squiggly line to where they are. Nothing is just straight. And
wow.
even those
Oh.
who do have a more direct line still had a few off ramps and on ramps in that discovery of who they
Oh,
are. And so you can find Girl Start at www.girlstart.org. We do have pages that allow
okay.
for volunteers to sign up. You can also sign up for our newsletter. So that way you can
Okay.
hear about the volunteer opportunities. But we have virtual and in-person opportunities that range from guest speaking to all of our,
Okay.
so that you don't even have to leave your office. And I love for girls to
Wow.
see your office when you're talking to them. But you can also come and talk to them in person. You can give, if a team
Oh,
is
okay.
willing to come out and do the presentations like at Girls in STEM conferences, or come out and do, a table with us and show the
Okay.
kids what it would like to support that way. Also, for those who really don't do kids, we have opportunities that are different in terms of, we have
Nice.
regional and national board seats. We have committees, those who love, looking at strategic
Really?
finance and development and
Shane, you become
network.
my best friend. You are
We have
my
all
new
of that.
best friend. Oh my
So
gosh, I'm
whether it
coming
goes
over.
to speaking to a kid, to building a kit, to
Wow.
helping us plant flowers at our building in Austin, all the things
Yes.
are available. So like I said, we're not only founded in Austin in 1997, but we've also
Okay.
expanded to North Texas, where I am, Houston, Texas,
Okay.
where I'm from, as well as
Yes.
many other smaller cities throughout the state of Texas. And then we're also in the
Wow.
Boston area and in the Bay Area of California. So if any of those places resonate with your wonderful audience, we would love to have
Oh
them.
my
We
God.
will always have guest speakers who also show up differently. If you are, you
Okay.
know, a man who happens to have daughters, then come on and talk to us. We would
Talk
love for
to
you
us.
to be
Oh
able to
my
say that I'm the
God.
type of human that will open these doors, get you in. What does it look like to
Wow.
create Pixar animations? All of these
Oh.
things. We want the kids to see that they just have
Mm.
adult ambassadors waiting for them to come and be their next coworker.
Wow. Shane, you have been amazing. You don't understand how much of a blessing that you have been to my life right now, this moment. And you've answered so many questions and so many thoughts and prayers. And I know that you're going to do great things. It was so amazing to talk to you. And it's been a pleasure to be a part of this. And honestly, you just taking us through the journey of being a legendary leader and just speaking up and using your voice and using it early. So thank you, Shane, for being a part of this wonderful opportunity and wonderful experience. I know my audience has been blessed because of you. Oh my God, you're amazing. So yes, you have to come back. We have to do more talking. So yeah, stay on the line for a minute. I would love to catch up with you after we leave the studio. But audience, thank you so much for joining. Shane has been amazing, and I hope that you have been blessed by this conversation. And like I said, you can't do anything else. And if you don't know what to do, whatever you do and all that you do, don't be ordinary, be legendary. Whatever you do and all that you do not be ordinary. Be a legendary leader. Audience, thank you for joining, friends, and we'll talk later. Bye for now.